Hello, I'm Adrienne Torres, and welcome back to Ascension Soul Coaching. So today I'm going to do a reading on the Michael Jackson Leaving Neverland documentary that's out by HBO now. And I want to get an idea of, I trust Michael. I mean, I grew up on Michael. From the time I was a little girl, all I've known was the Jackson 5s, right? So I was born in the 60s. And watched a little cartoon show they had, and I was just enthralled with Michael and the whole family. So in the late 80s and the early 90s, of course, there was this issue with Michael Jackson had maybe inappropriately touched a child or whatever. Chandler, I think is his name. And I said, no way, no possible freaking way. If you know Michael Jackson, you kept up with him over the years, there's just no freaking way that could have happened. But then he paid him off, and the story went away. And later on, you heard about how the father wanted to get his script passed through Michael Jackson, get it produced, whatever, and that didn't happen, and that's why he said that Michael Jackson was molesting his son. So later on, after all that was done, of course, we heard right before Michael died, or I think right after Michael died, the father actually committed suicide. The boy, Chandler, had said that over time to other people privately that Michael never touched him, and he's moved overseas, and he doesn't ever want to talk about this ever again, you know. So I've always followed the story, and I know Michael had kids, a lot of kids in his house, that he wanted to take care of sick kids and disadvantaged kids all over the world. That was his thing. I mean, it wasn't about inappropriately touching kids. I don't believe. I do believe that he left himself vulnerable, especially after the first situation where this guy extorted from him, or allegedly said that Michael Jackson molested his child. But he left himself vulnerable because he went back and he continued to do the things probably the same way he was doing it before. And if it was me or anyone else, either they would have stopped to look, never going to do this again, or like have kids unchaperoned without adults around again, or make it so that there was never, ever, ever any way anybody could ever accuse me of touching kids. So I've taught kids in the children's church for years, and you're left with kids, and females, I guess, aren't really charged as much, and there's not a lot of activity or accusations regarding that. So, but I've always, after the Michael Jackson situation, made sure that when I was with children, I always had other adults around that I trusted. So, not that I ever thought anything would happen, but you just think about stuff like that, right? So when the second case came out with the guy who had cancer, and they arrested Michael again, I'm like, oh my God, no, we didn't do this again. But I was still on Michael's side, because you have to listen to all the facts. And as the facts came out that they had raided Michael Jackson's Neverland house and other places that he owned, Tom Snetten from LA, I guess he was the police chief, whatever, investigator. He really had it out for Michael. And they never found anything, any evidence. And FBI has reviewed and monitored Michael Jackson for 10 years, they said. And he came out and gave the report after he died of what they found, and there was never any evidence. And I'm sorry, if you have a person like Tom Snetten, who's, as Michael says, always trying to find something, you have the FBI come out for 10 years and monitor your activities, nothing found. You have Wade and this guy James at the time, during the second case, said nothing ever happened. They got on that court in front of that jury and they said nothing ever happened, and if it did, we would not be here. Nothing happened. And Wade was 21, 23 years old at the time, roughly around my age, I think, at the time. Maybe he's a little younger, but not much younger. He's a little younger than me, but not much. And said that nothing happened. I swear nothing happened. You have the guy, Macaulay Culkin, he said nothing ever happened. You have, and this is the thing, the kids now, the millennials and the kids who are probably like 15, 20 years younger than me, I call them kids because, don't really have a really good perspective of the history of Michael Jackson, like all those cases in the past. We followed them. The people my age group, we followed them. You had your opinion, but people at least had the information back then, was easily readily available for you to review it. It's always on TV, right? And now you just have these guys 10 years after Michael died, come out and say these things, and they have video, and well, they had video back then that nothing happened. They showed all that video back then. Nothing ever happened. Pictures, people talking. They interviewed many people, and if he had done anything, they would have. I think Michael would have been in jail for the rest of his life. But that didn't happen. So now you have these guys 10 years after Michael's death coming back and said, well, now I remember, maybe he did do something. This is what he did. And Wade, who was a friend of the family for years, always stood up for Michael Jackson, said nothing happened. He's my friend. He's helped me through my career. He's done this, that, and the other. He's kind-hearted, loving guy. Now he wants to say Michael Jackson's raped him. Right. And now there's all these other evidence that's coming out, information and videos coming out and stories coming out that Wade and his mother tracked Michael Jackson down the first few years, trying to get Michael to pay attention to him. And after he won that dance contest when he was 5 years old and met Michael Jackson for the first time, nothing's adding up, people. If you go back and look at all the videos that we had to watch and television shows and documentaries back in the day from the late 80s to, I think the last case, I want to say the last case was 2004, 2005, somewhere around that time. You got the full story. Now you're just seeing these two guys come out with tapes that, yeah, I was with Michael. When Wade came out, I think it was last year or the year before, and said that Michael had done this, I'm like, what are you doing, Wade? You're supposed to be his friend. I didn't understand why. He's like, oh, this is not repressed memory. I always knew what he did. I just didn't know it was that. No, you knew it was that if that was what it was, because you were 20-some years old when you stood in front of that jury and said this didn't happen. So you knew, based on what the other kid in that trial was saying, and I'm sure that Mesero talked to you, and a lot of other people talked to you. You were cross-examined on the witness stand, by the prosecution. You know what sexual assault is, okay? You didn't just have this breakthrough 10 years after Michael died. What it seems like, based on the evidence that's coming out, is that you had a breakdown, mental breakdown. You wanted to do some things with the state and with the state's approval, Michael Jackson's estate approval. You did not get it, especially with the Cirque du Soleil Act. And you felt begrudging. And you felt, you said in an interview, I think it was the NBC interview with Matt Lauer, or maybe it was someone else, but this video out there on YouTube now, that you said that they didn't want to listen to you, the state didn't want to listen to you when you first came out about this. You tried to shop a book, nobody wanted to touch you. You did other things, nobody wanted to listen, but you said now you will become relevant. So to me, it's vindictive and it's spiteful, and there's no truth to it. The truth is that you were a friend and he helped you out his whole life until he passed. But when he passed, you couldn't get any more money from it. You couldn't get any more traction out of Michael. Everything was shut down. The state said, no, you don't get any more money. Sorry, we're not gonna hire you for this particular event. They made other decisions. Whereas Michael was living, he probably would have hired you. And you're probably a very good choreographer. I hear you have a lot of experience and you're skillful and all that, but so now you're taking it out. I don't know how you got this James guy to come forward, but the truth will come out. There's going to be a lot of apologies. I already sensed that. But today, I'm going to do a reading. Like I was saying before, the millennials, they don't hear the whole story. They just hear that part. And then with this Me Too era going on, they think, oh, Michael Jackson did this. Oh my God, I heard it when I was young. Now we have these tapes and videos. Honey, let me just tell you, all that stuff was out there a long time ago. And it was vetted and vetted heavily. This man was going to go to prison. So sorry, no, go. I believe the Jackson families. I believe back in the day you had all the big stars come out, a lot of big stars rather, I want to say not all, come out in Michael Jackson's defense. It says he was childlike, he was fairy tale like, he was Pinocchio, Peter Pan, and you had like a lot of the stars who were around him, who was his friends, come out. Elizabeth Taylor was one of his bigger supporters. They said, no, Michael, I was in the bed with Michael. His room is huge with those children. No one did anything. Wasn't grooming. Just as who he was. Sometimes there's people who are just like that. They are just childlike. They are just people who love to be around kids. I love to be around kids because they inspire me. But I don't let them sleep in my bed, okay? Or my room because I don't have a huge mansion. But I'm around them a lot. And I just feel like they just took that out of, people knew how to take advantage of Michael, and Michael probably paid off a lot of people just to make the situation go away, and people knew that, and they took advantage. Not a lot of people took advantage of it, but just a few. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. If it was in 2004, 2005 with this last issue, with the guy who had cancer, which they proved that his mother also sued another store because she said that she was aggressively assaulted in the store, and that she set up her kids to create this whole story. It broke Michael. I remember when they arrested him, you could tell when they had the handcuffs on and they were taking him in the jail. I said that just killed Michael Jackson. I knew then, that very moment he had those handcuffs on and he walked through the jail, that I said right in my mind at that moment, they have just killed that man. And 4 years later he was dead. 2009. So this would just kill him again. Those guys would not say these things today if he was living, because they knew that he was a friend and he was helpful. But now they're broke, probably don't have any other resources. They've probably burned a lot of bridges in the entertainment world, and they have nowhere else to go. And like I said, Wade has already confessed to having a couple of mental breakdowns, but he wants to blame it on Michael. Y'all, let's do the reading.